Oh! Hi, welcome to Fight It, a show where we analyze and solve PR kerfuffles from MMA world and beyond.
Jesus.
First, I got the fingers of death.
Yes. Hey, at least you didn't get these fingers.
Oh, damn.
Oh, I guess you just did.
I just did, man. Right. I'm your host, Lexi Auld, and joining me as always is Eugene S. Robinson from Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything Everyone Knows About Asking for Afraid. You get your asking for asking. And our special guest, John Nash, is here.
Yeah, I'm here. I made it.
Like all silent.
Well, it's not my turn to speak yet. I have
John is not supposed to intro John. You gotta.
I thought he'd say like, "Hello, howdy."
Listen. I just hope your huge audience is accepting of me as they are accepting of Kid Nate taking his place. I have big shoes to fill.
I was going to use another analogy. I was going to say it low bar, but whatever. That's
well, and my feet are probably about 7 sizes bigger than his, anyways. So.
Oh, we don't want to get it today.
Well, I got giant clown shoes I wear. So
penis talk. This show is better than that penis talk.
Yeah, I've seen your guys' show. It's not.
No, you're right. You're right. It's not.
What's wrong with penis talk, man?
Yeah, no.
Let's make a penis talk and big shoes. John, you're Conor McGregor.
Oh, man.
Now that the Maymac World Tour has ended, do you need to make PR moves to prevent your race-laden promotional politics from derailing your post-fight future, or is there a future in your storm fronting?
I love Stormfront.
This guy is good. We got Nazis in the first 30 seconds. Yes.
The main thing about Stormfront is every once in a while, like I'll be Googling something, information like old catch wrestling or something, and then the link you go to and you go, shit, it's Stormfront. And they're talking about one of my articles. I'm giving material to Stormfront because I read about old-timey.
I spent a lot of time there, mostly for the Metzger cartoons.
I don't. The rest I don't know. I just always stunned when I get there and go, oh, because I wrote about some tough old white guy, it's got to be on Stormfront now.
Yeah, right.
Hanging on to what do you do then, Connor?
Okay, well, there's 2 things you can do. One is if I'm a sociopath who's only interested in selling this fight more.
You've said the same thing twice there, but okay.
Yeah. Let's don't interrupt me. I'm on a roll here. I cannot be distracted. I'm not as good as you guys. But if I want to sell this fight as much as possible, and I don't give a shit about the morals, and I don't give a shit about the society as a whole, I could secretly tweak and keep using coded language to build up the racial animosity. Because as we know as fight fans, nothing makes a fight bigger when you have 2 groups going at each other. We right now have MMA and boxing going against each other. Let's add a racial dynamic, and you could blow this fight up even bigger. You could have this be a repeat of Trump versus. This could be the Clinton fans have to rally around. God, they'd have to rally around Mayweather, who beats women, which would be hard. But anyways, they would rally around Mayweather, and then the Trump fans would rally around Conor McGregor. We could blow out the pay-per-view record through the roof. But that's if I have no interest in my future career after this, because after that I'd probably be dead to most people. If I was personally Conor McGregor, I think it's a very easy out. You claim cultural ignorance. Listen, in Ireland, saying boy is not an insult. I didn't realize that. I don't know the history of American race politics. I don't know the history of race relations in America. I made a mistake, and I said it again the second time just because I thought, well, no one made that big a deal out of it, so it wasn't that big a deal. And you play it off and say, listen, now that I know I won't say that, but, I'm coming from Ireland. We don't have the issue with this word and this phrasing that I use that you guys have. That gets you off the boy. The pumping you're pumping your crotch at the audience and for all your black female fans. I guess that's just neither. I was trying to use levity and it went terrible.
What about you?
Okay, I'm waiting for Eugene to tell me how wrong I am.
Well, with all due respect, John's a guest in our house. I don't really want to. John is absolutely, completely fucking wrong here. With all due respect, he has no fucking idea what he's talking about. With all due respect, no.
At least with due respect, it sounds.
I mean, look at if you don't know that where we are right now in time if you can't put your finger in the air and feel that this feels very much like old news, you're not paying attention. This news cycle moves so fucking fast that anybody who's still hung up on the shit that happened 2 or 3 days, 4 days ago now is clearly a fetishist, and they're not going to be happy no matter what the fuck happens. I mean, the reality of it is this train is moving quickly, and you got to understand that these guys are in fucking cahoots. Don't fall for the fucking okie doke. Really? Oh, he's really giving it to him, and you're buying that, sitting in your cheap seats, eating your fucking popcorn, believing that, and yet there was no mention of wife beating. Right. Now, you know, if it was an MMA match, you were talking a little UFC dollars, you would have said, much like Jake Shields said about, who was the guy who did the bully beatdown? What was the cat who did bully beatdown?
Oh, Mayhem Miller.
Jason Mayhem Miller and Jake, had a Twitter war back and forth. And Jake said, the only fight you seem to be winning is against your girlfriend in the kitchen, bing, and that was what, you want to fight me? Let's do it. That's our job. So I think that was, I don't think any excuse needed to be made. One of the glories I say about traveling in Europe is that it's much like traveling in the American South. I walk by the average white guy on the street and he just doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm a white guy, you're a black guy, whatever. See you later. I got that. In northern cities, this is in San Francisco or California, there's this kind of subdural tension. Like, I could be wearing a fucking $2,000 suit and there's subdural tension. I ask my kids about it. They go, well, it's because if you don't smile, you look pretty imposing. What, I got to fucking walk around smiling all the time? I got a $1,500, $2,000 suit on. I wanted to smile. So I think that McGregor, it was a thing for a day, but I'm much more concerned. I'm much more concerned with the fucking bitch this and bitch that. I was actually sort of, by the last press conference, sort of appalled at what I felt was a general anti-woman vibe of the whole thing. I swear to God. I mean, it's not just that I have daughters, but it's like, a friend of mine hit me and he said, I hear you use the word cocksucker a lot, and I hear you use the word motherfucker a lot. Have you fucked mothers before? And I was like, yeah. So it doesn't seem like that bad of a thing, right? I go, right. And
I love it.
Yeah, right. And you're pretty happy when you're getting your cock sucked, right? I go, generally, pretty much, yeah. And he goes, it's not pejorative. People who suck your cock, you feel pretty good about them, don't you? I go, yeah, I feel pretty good about them. So he was like,
and especially a cock sucking, being a cock sucking
like a motherfucker, yeah. So
you're on top of the world, baby.
No, so you should have your curse words. And at first I was like kind of grousing because these guys are trying to ruin everything,
And then you got sucked and you were like, oh, he's right.
But then I started thinking he's fucking right. So bitch this, bitch that, bitch, you're my whole, like the most fucking shameful thing in the world. Is it was suddenly I felt like I was hanging out a fucking fraternity house. So I think there's much more serious damage done. Like the thinking fans, the guys who like Conor McGregor because they thought that he was on some upper level fucking Yoda genius shit with trolling these guys. Those are the guys who are like, man, money makes people act funny, Jack. You change, Conor. You change. I mean, money is just the same dumbass he's always been, so big deal. But they didn't need 4 of those. They didn't need 4 of those, and I think they were in the negative zone by the end. So if I'm Conor McGregor, to stick to the theme of the show, if I'm Conor McGregor, I just realize I'm on an express train and I just say some other shit, and then people will focus on that. I don't need.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the other thing you said is the fact that they both have a financial interest in this fight happening, right? And if it comes up again, how do you deal with it? Now, on one end, for Conor McGregor, the weird thing I thought in terms of analysis of the fight and ginning everything up was, I think you're right. It just too long. If it was just 2, it'd be good to go. The first one, people were sold, and the second one, then by the time they heard about what he said about black women, I knew people were like, fuck that dude. I'm not gonna watch that shit. Yep. Or now I really want him to get his ass beat. But the other thing is, for the whole boxing game, if it's ever brought up to him, when he's minding his business, if you actually look at the history, especially of boxing, they're always playing up nationality, race. Friends of mine who live in L.A., who used to go to the fights every weekend, said, look, man, it's a rarity that you'd ever see like someone of the same nationality or same ethnicity fighting each other. It's just an automatic thing. Mexican dude versus white dude, or versus black dude versus Asian dude. The other thing is with Floyd Mayweather's uncle, who actually was a champion, he was known as a Mexican hunter. He used to come to the ring, with a sombrero and wearing a poncho, So the whole notion of nationalism and racism is just part of boxing's pre-fight culture. So I mean,
well, and also, I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I got to interrupt you. I think that the kind of tribalism that John was talking about, realistically, I had one commenter out of all the thousands of people who listened to the show who thought it was smart to say to me, the only reason you like him is because he's black. I go, hey, you think Japanese guys walk around and every time they see a Toyota, they go, yeah. You don't, So this is like one kind of enclave where I can root for a Chael Sonnen, or I could root for a Conor McGregor, and it's a different type of tribalism, right? It's a different type of Chael Sonnen is one of my favorite mouths, not fighters, but mouths. Conor McGregor is actually, I think, one of the more interesting fighters, and I like it as a respite from the tribalism. You don't really hear too much spat. You hear Tyron Woodley say, I think that it might be race that motivates. And what he's not talking about is MMA. What he's talking about is the bald one. And we all know that, So
I was going to say, there is tribalism in this, though. You can see it. It doesn't have to be black and white. You can see it. Right. There's a lot of black guys I follow on Twitter, and I know I don't know any black people that follow MMA actually in my real life. But
really?
On Twitter,
I know a bunch.
Most of the black people I know are in they're nerd professions, they're computer programmers and stuff like that. So they're not into fighting at all. But the people on Twitter, they're cheering for Conor because he represents MMA and they hate boxing, and that's their tribe. Their tribe MMA.
Right.
But I get nervous because as a student of history of boxing, it's got a pretty ugly history when it comes to the racism in boxing can get so over the top. I mean,
well, the question,
Jeffries.
The question is, this is something that the people who are serious have been paying attention to, worried, is this going to have a distorting effect on either of the polls? Who's going to, this has nothing to do with who wins or loses the actual fight. As a result of rolling around, is boxing going to benefit in a more significant way than MMA is going to benefit? And that's really, I think that's a tri-level chess shit where you're thinking like, okay, more eyes, more uneducated eyes, who key bono, who benefits from this matchup? I don't give a shit who wins, but is this going to help? Is this going to help MMA? Is it going to hurt MMA? I know for sure it's going to help boxing. I guarantee you. People in boxing haven't been this excited about shit in a long time, but will it help MMA? This I'm not sure about. Well, because Tony Ferguson has been putting up, if you're watching him on Instagram, has been putting up video after video of him working on speed bags and all this shit. It's like, oh, really? Focus pads and speed bags to show his incredible hand speed. Dudes want to get paid, man. The guy sitting on the left of me makes $100 million, and the guy who he works for makes $300 million. I start to think, hey, I'm kind of a fucking dummy for sitting here getting 10 grand.
Yep. Speaking of feeling like a dummy sitting around, Eugene, your Showtime sports executive, Steven Espinoza. During the Maymac World Tour Los Angeles stop last week, Conor McGregor called you a fucking weasel live in public, if you will, two times in your face. What moves are you making to put some respect on your name?
Well, there are two things you can do. And there's the new money thing to do and the old money thing to do. The old money thing to do is just to laugh your ass off because, you were Steven Espinoza 10 years ago when he was on welfare, and you'll be Steven Espinoza 10 years from now when he's back on welfare. So that's the old money way of dealing with it. The new money way of dealing with it, it reminds me of some of the street fights I had with guys who were aggressively overmatched, and you would really have to make them unconscious before they would stop talking. No matter how badly beat they were, they'd be like, I gotta fuck your mother. And you hit the guy, and the guy is still going. I mean, why not? Why not? At this point, I'm sitting here minding my own business. You walked all the way across the room to attack me. If I'm Steven Espinoza, I put, and I'm new money, I put out a press release that says, for immediate release, Officer Steven Espinoza, Conor McGregor, anytime you'd like, you're more than welcome to come to my office and juggle my nuts in your mouth. Signed sincerely, Steven Espinoza. Thank you very much. Now, Steven Espinoza, you got to know he works in the sports division. It's not like the guy from Bud Anheuser-Busch who comes drunk or, tried to get on the plane drunk, or Anheuser-Busch has had a couple missteps with guys showing up drunk. It's not like that at all. I mean, I think they would understand it, especially if he said that and then he laughed. You can say the most horrible shit at the end, and if you go, people will go, "Oh, he's just kidding." Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Steven.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
Well, right now I probably don't care because I'm thinking about what the 5 to 10% Showtime's collecting for every pay-per-view sold. So I would almost egg them on. Why not go? What's the was it Vince McMahon became the big villain on pro wrestling? Isn't there something pro wrestling where there's always like some authority figure?
Yes.
Become the authority figure, because we all know, I think, based on this, that god damn, there's a lot of pro wrestling fans that are, or MMA fans that really are pro wrestling fans, even though they won't admit it, based on they love the spectacle. So build that up. The other thing, though, if he really wanted to be diabolical, I guess the two things he could do is, one is if Conor wanted to get back into boxing, who runs boxing right now? Yeah. Showtime. If you're going to do a paper, HBO is getting out of boxing. It looks like they've got a budget of like $10 million this year. I mean, that measly a budget for boxing. They're not putting on many boxing events. Showtime's where the money is. So if Conor wants to go back into boxing, guess who got a lot of the leverage in it? He can be a total dick at that point. Or because Showtime's going to own the footage after he gets definitely gets schooled by Mayweather. But God damn it, they could just be he could be shipping out clips of this fight to everybody to make a promo on Twitter, Facebook, everything. So for the next year, it's nothing but comical, Benny Hill music of Conor McGregor getting his ass kicked in the boxing ring.
Yeah, and also you got to realize that if Conor McGregor's got $100 million in the bank, does he give a fuck about anything? Yeah. If I had $100 million in the bank, I might just stop doing anything normal. I'm not wearing pants. If I go to a restaurant, I got no pants, just pissing in somebody's soup. Why not?
Isn't $100 million like the definition of fuck you money? Isn't that like that's gotta be the barrier right there. When you get to that level, you definitely have it.
I think pretty much. I mean, I think I knew somebody who said that 40 million wasn't enough in Silicon Valley to quit working. I was like, shit. All right, you get that, you keep working. I'm going to take some time off with 40 mil, but 100 mil, very definitely, you're there.
Well, also given the fact that he has other millions as well, so it's not like this is this is the biggest payday of his career, but it's not as if he's going from 0 to 100 million. He's going from welfare checks to 100 million. But in terms of executives. John, you're UFC President Dana White.
All right.
After going to war with you on the internet, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Johnson told Ariel Helwani, quote, "It was just a big misunderstanding, and we're going to meet with Dana White. We're going to sit down and get on the same level and go from there and see what options we have," end quote. Can you tell us what those options are, Dana?
You suck it up, Demetrius, and do what we say, or we're getting rid of the division. I mean, I think that's the options if you're Dana White. It's not. I don't think Demetrius has much leverage, considering that there's no one else is. Are you shaking your head because you?
I'm just shaking my head, man. With all due respect, John.
No, okay, what is Demetrius going to do? It's Dana White secretly. Publicly, Dana White will say, we came to an agreement. We want to work together. This is great. But in their meeting, he's basically going to tell Demetrius Johnson, Demetrius, we can get rid of the division. We're the only one putting on flyweight fights. No one else really wants it. We're the only one that can put up the money that we're paying you already.
You're not meeting with him to get rid of the division in his face? Like, so we're not. I just want to let you know to your face, you're done.
No, I'm going to go to Godfather Part 3 for this. When they go to Immobiliare and they're asking for fucking money, and they says, we have rules. We have very old rules. We have to abide by those rules. The bishop, who was later subsequently murdered. It's a terrible movie. We all know that, but that was a great line. It's like we have a board that we have a higher authority that we have to answer to. The reality of it is, the bald one is not a king. He's absolutely not a king. Have you noticed that he's been amazingly quiet the last few weeks? Anybody notice that? Pay attention at all to the fact that he's been quiet. He wasn't
quiet. He was yelling at that press tour I just watched. He was red-faced. He was yelling so loud.
What was he yelling?
He goes, the the reigning defending, even though I don't know what he's defending because it's a boxing ring, but hey.
Right. Well, there's a difference of a hype man who's focused on elevating the event, and there's a difference between that and a distraction, somebody who's taking away from the event. The press cycle that was behind him 3 weeks ago with the yanking the belt from Jermaine Durand to me, just the shit talking, under bus wheels throwing, it was getting to be not a critical mass situation, but enough of a mass where like you got to know that one of the other guys who is still fronting portions of that $1 billion who live close to him, Lorenzo, you might have said to him, "Yo, bro, tune it down just a bit." It's not like he's completely without mediating influence. There are people around. They're not going to let him steer this $4 billion bus into the side of a fucking cliff. I think Demetrius could say, you know what, fuck it, man. How many times are you going to threaten somebody who's an actual fighter as a career with some, we become fighters, so you don't have to listen to this. You got to threaten me? You got to fucking threaten me? I fucking fight for a living, man. I'll dig ditches. I'll drive a fucking forklift at Home Depot. I'm not taking your shit. I'll just sit here. It's your game. You want me to fight here? When I run out of money, I'll do something else. So I think it was probably, I think Dana, it's, what do they say? Diplomacy is about saying nice doggy until you can get your hand on the rock. If other people have their hands on that rock, Lorenzo, it's not like you got your hand on the rock anymore. You got to play nice. And you got to, no, it's not like I'm going to attack Stalingrad and then I'm going to declare war against America. And then I'm going to keep fucking around with the UK. And it's like, you can't fight all these wars and all these fronts. You got to calm somebody. I mean, so I think
kinder, gentler Dana White is going to meet him at the.
I just think it was strategic, man. I think it was strategic. I think the guy, you got to do what you got to do. Does he like Demetrius Johnson? Fuck no. But who was it? Bleacher Reporter, was it ESPN who actually wrote an article about the the fractious bald one, and they went through point by point, talked about how he's a different CEO and he's different. Don King, he had well publicized hatreds with Mike Tyson, but he. In total, he always stayed on the positive side of the news cycle, which is amazing for a guy who killed 2 people. You just can't be a distraction, and you can't be on the bottom end of that news cycle. So I think somebody talked to him.
Well, speaking about talking, Eugene, you're a UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion Amanda Nunes. If travel-induced sinusitis was the source of your UFC 213 cancellation and last loss to Kat Zingano, why don't you take more affirmative PR actions to protect your brand and your title?
Why don't you?
Why don't you?
When I interviewed Halle Berry, right? It was right after she got into that car accident that she left, right? And during the interview went on for like hours and hours. I was hanging out at the house for like 5 or 6 hours, right? So during the first portion of the interview, she's like really working herself into a lather about this accident, people, and finally I couldn't take it. And I forgot that I was in the middle of the interview, and I looked at, why the fuck do you care? It's just, what do you mean? I go, you give a fuck what people think. People get in the car accidents all the time. Fender benders all the fucking time. What's going to happen? I'm looking at this $10 million house in the Hollywood Hills, and I'm sitting around, look at the tide pool that comes inside, outside. Like, what the fuck do you care? Why? And she goes, well, it's not like you're going to go to jail for 10 years or 10 weeks or even 10 days. Why do you care? And I realized, okay, her business is based on fundamentally people liking her. It's like, she was attractive people. Heidi Klum could murder me now, could run in his room and shoot me dead, and Heidi Klum would not go to jail for a day. That's the way attractiveness works in our society. To act like it's anything else is fucking crazy. They didn't even get OJ for fucking killing his wife and the waiter. They got him for some bullshit in the hotel room because the guy was like, it was a cry for help, So I think,
and he wasn't as handsome at that point.
So
got all bloated.
Yes, that's true. So with Amanda, I think, you know, at a certain point, she's probably working herself into a lather. Like, I don't know, what should I do? There's a thing, and the people are angry. They're saying this, and can you read the Twitters and the tweets and the people saying it? And I think somebody needs to say, you know what, that was yesterday's fucking news. Nobody. You need to plan ahead. Have them book a fight with someplace you don't have to fly to if that's really the issue. If that's not, you got the belt, you can demand it, not demand it, ask for it, not ask for it, maybe negotiate it. But at this point in time, you got to get off, got to get out of that, you know, all that negativity, man. You got to get and move on. But I think it's hard for these people. You know, these are not seasoned media professionals. These are not people who have been, you know, I've been on the stage since I was 2 years old, right? So I get up on the stage in front of a microphone and people start booing me. It's like, I start laughing, right? Because it's like, it's like between you and me, only one of us is going to win this contest. Josh Koscheck gets in the cage and people start booing him. I was actually shocked and surprised that he wasn't okay with the heel turn, you know, that like, you don't know that you want people to love you. What the fuck is your problem? So I think that she's probably spinning. And I think somebody needs to say, get back.
So you're not buying the sinusitis?
She might have it. And if that's the case, then you negotiate your way around that and fight in a place that you don't have to fly to, you know, or establish yourself in a place 6 months before that you can comfortably train, and your girlfriend, whatever. I mean, you got to make it work. Can't be fuck it. It's got to be fuck it. Let's make this work. And if she's not willing to do that, then she'll retire, and that's okay. But I think right now she's spinning somewhere.
I think Eugene was on to something. He didn't go too far enough with it. The heel turn. That's the move. No one cares about Amanda Nunes. That's the sad thing. She beat Ronda Rousey. She beat Miesha Tate. She's not a star. She's not. I mean, she's known a little bit amongst the MMA hardcores, but she's not drawing numbers at all. We can tell by traffic and stuff. UFC's not pushing her, so obviously they don't think she's much. Why don't you just go out and be a miserable human being and take advantage of that? This is like when I was a kid and I used to watch Ric Flair. He wouldn't want to lose. He'd jump out of the ring, and he would let him count him out. Or Nick Bachman was even better. It's a little bit of cheating.
I remember.
Oh, I'm going to lose. I roll out. I roll out of the ring. I walk away. Oh, I got counted out. I don't lose the belt. Yep. Basically treat this is like, oh, this is me doing whatever I can to retain the belt because I ain't going to lose the goddamn belt. I'm going to make sure, have her girlfriend's actually a pretty good speaker. Have her go out and say weird comments and hint like, she's only going to fight 100% to make sure she wins. She's only, like she could be skipping 10 fights in the future. There's nothing you can do about it. I would get everybody hating her. Have her burning an effigy the next time she shows up to fight.
I think John's right, and this is I think. But the reality of it is, the great thing about a heel turn is if you don't have it in you, you can't do it. I always thought Koscheck had it in him, and when I saw him make that face when people booed him like he really cared, I was like, "You're a fucking tourist. Go home. Go home."
That's true. But the thing that might help her is that she might be getting pay-per-view points as a champ. Not all of them do, but she might be very well. So the next time she fights and she's a heel and people buy and she, oh, wow, I just made an extra $300,000 this fight. Yep. That really helps you be a dick if you need it. If you need that motivation.
Walk around the tissues, you know what I mean? And the little Sinex stuff. And I think, I'm ready for this. I'm just, hold on, Nina.
I'm not feeling good. Bring in a wheelchair. Oh, God.
It's just crippling. You don't understand it, crippling.
Yeah.
Man, but she won't, because she wants to be loved.
Well, I don't know that she wants to be loved, but her quietness speaks volumes to me,
Well, so here with her because she has this mixed thing. I mean, because just think about it. When she was going in and she had this humility when she wanted the title from Miesha, the shot, or when she went up, she won the shot, and then when she had the Ronda Rousey option, and then she was like shh and talking all this shit, and so that's why in terms of the whether or not she has it in her, she's shown flashes of being an ass. But
which you need to go with, man. And moreover, what she needs to do is I don't remember, somebody listening would know. There was a time somebody wrote about some hip hop guy and he was on stage and he was like, "Oh shit, ODB is did a Bob Hope, walked on in the middle of his show. He's like, this is so fucking great. ODB, the old dirty bastard, is here on my show." 45 minutes later, ODB was still there. Man, you got to know, once you get that fucking mic in your hand, do not let it go. Amanda should be talking now. Talking. Do not let that mic go.
Yeah, I'm Space. What's her girlfriend's name again?
So Nina Asaroff.
Nina Asaroff. I could never pronounce the damn name, but Nina. But she's very protective of her. But I would again, going back to my old pro wrestling childhood. That's Nick Bockwinkel had, he was a great speaker, but other guys that couldn't speak for shit had Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yep.
Nina should play that part. She should defend her girlfriend and defend her so passionately it starts driving people nuts. Like, stop making excuses for this person, and then have Amanda refuse to talk about it.
Right.
She doesn't want to get into it.
Yeah. Or Amanda's right. Amanda could be right. She can play the good guy and no. I'm gonna tell her what's really going on. So. Yeah. I think you're right.
But again, with John's point, what he started out with was exactly the right. It's like we're talking about Amanda Nunes like she's not Amanda Nunes. Yeah. Like she could do it. Who's going to be at that press conference? Who? Not really me.
See, that's the thing that I think is criminal in terms of the promotion of these fighters is the fact that pro wrestling is it laid the basis for handling individuals who are technically sound and proficient, but have no mic skills. You have a manager. You have someone that's a speaking piece for you. And just for the life of me, I just don't understand, given the fact that UFC is making money or not making money based on people caring, you're going to take so many different things from professional wrestling and not that. Say, hey, look, you know what? You're terrible on the mic at the press conference. Yeah. Have someone talk for you. Have somebody at one of these gyms that's the mouthpiece or a hype person run their mouth. Oh, that's right, AT&T. We're going to, something.
But, hey, but you know what? When they talk about these giants of the sports, of any sport, whether it's baseball or football, they've done something that nobody else has done, and they have taken the artistic principle of ex nihilo and brought it to sports. Before they did what they did, there was nothing doing what they were doing. Right. And at this point now, it actually gives me a certain amount of personal pain that when we talk about MMA, our reference points are boxing and professional wrestling. That fucking sucks, man. As a musician, I could tell you, there's some people who are in bands like, should we be a ska band or should we be a metal band? Should we be a metal ska band? Or what kind of band? And at some point, you just like, I want to be in a band that makes music. And my ardent hope is that the UFC, that MMA gets to that point where like, yeah, I know there's something out there called boxing, and I know there's something out there called professional wrestling, but my vision for what this thing is grander, so much grander that these are not reference points that make any sense to me. Sadly, that's not the bald one.
Well, see, I kind of disagree with you that because MMA is pro wrestling. I mean, there's no way around it. It's the whole history is, it was so intertwined with pro wrestling. The only difference is this is pro wrestling for real, and pro wrestling that we call pro wrestling now is fake.
Yeah, well, what it's been is not what it needs to be. I mean, there was a point in time where real wrestling was one of the number one sport in America. Then it became one of the number one sports in America. Back in the 50s, it was like baseball, wrestling, and boxing, right? And these were like real. They would fill Madison Square Garden with wrestling matches. That's still something else. The vision that I'd like to see somebody emerge from the mist. A real visionary. And I think Dana was a first stage visionary. The Baldwin was a first stage visionary and got the company to where people were $4.2 billion worth of caring. But I don't think he's the guy to take it to this place it needs to be, where it's just a different thing. I mean, these guys who I'm talking about, there was football before, right? But they came and they completely reimagined football so that you got the Super Bowl is like the hugest fucking thing ever. I mean, people played soccer as long as there were balls, but somebody came along. I don't know enough about soccer to know. Somebody came along and made it what it is today, which is one of the biggest sports in the world. How do you do that? I don't know.
Well, while we're talking about wrestling, John, you're Ronda Rousey.
All right.
Oh, man, you got the short straw. Sorry, John.
That means I'm not going to say anything, and I'm just going to walk out of here.
Right.
Your involvement in a WWE taping last week was called, quote, foreshadowing in essence, just in case, end quote, by a WWE official. Should you layeth the smacketh down as a sports entertainer or keep teasing it?
I think you definitely keep. I mean, what else she has going for her? She's done with MMA. She's not coming back. I mean, I hope she doesn't. I doubt she's coming back because the last two losses were terrible. She's not. Her acting career is not going anywhere. I would. Eugene's shaking his head again. It's so
No.
distracting.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with every point. I'm not as agree. Acting career is not going anywhere.
Oh, okay, you're agreeing with her.
Nope, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, she's not doing anything. I don't know if she'll be able to do pro wrestling either, because from everything I hear, pro wrestling's really hard. It's, you have to go event after event. It's really tiring. I don't think her ego will allow her to lose to people. Job is whatever it's called. Job to lose or sell to other people. She's not going to do that stuff. But short grab, she seems to love pro wrestling. She has a kind of a pro wrestling persona. She could probably do a stint in the WWF or WWE, whatever the heck it's called now, and make a bunch of money. And maybe she's good at it. She can stay with it. But she really has nothing else going for her. I mean, this is her chance to get, and who knows, maybe we'll get her back in the limelight and people like and remember, and she'll, okay, I doubt you don't agree with that. I know you don't think that'll happen, but
you don't believe in Battle Network stars, John? Isn't she?
The Battle Network stars.
You don't have much faith.
How well did that bombed in the 80s and they brought it back? It's not gonna
70s and 80s.
it's every decade they got to give it a try.
Remember Lamont Sanford blew out his knee.
I just remember Lou Ferrigno was the old one.
He's on this one too.
Yeah, I know. That's you can't even update your stars. It's got. We listen. We took it out of the mothballs, out of the box. We have Lou Ferrigno's there again. Let's put him back in the show.
What do you think?
I don't know, man. This Ronda thing. I mean, I'm hard pressed to. I'm hard pressed to feel sorry for anybody who's richer than me. But I have to say that I have feelings of empathy here, sympathy and empathy and pity, largely because, just like I would for somebody who got hit by a bus, Now, that person who got hit by a bus might be walking along the street, the biggest asshole in the world, and they get hit by the bus. Why does that spark me to empathy, sympathy, and pity? Well, because they didn't see it coming. I mean, there was a point where Ronda goes, man, if I only had some money, if I could. And there was a point, that climb up, the spectacular rise portion of the story, and people think, man, if I could only, and then all that if I could only stuff happens. And they're like, shit, I've made it, Moses, the mountaintop, I'm here. And then you think about the rest of it. You start to believe it. Like when I made Leonard Part 6, and there was always somebody around to help me on with my bathrobe, and I get home, and instead of the nice, the super $600 terry cloth bathrobe they have on the sets, I got my dirty gray Kmart bathrobe, and there's nobody to help me with it on. Reality is fucking fucked. So Ronda, maybe she's got 10 mil, maybe she's got 20 mil. How old is she? What purpose-driven life? What the fuck are you gonna do with the remaining 60 some odd years you have in your life? You can't go out any goddamn place now because people are taking photos of you looking fat. You're gonna have kids, and then people dismiss you. Oh, you had such thing. You're gonna promise. People are bugging you about coming back to fight.
You could have been somebody.
You could have been somebody.
You were somebody. You were a contender.
Truck drivers to baristas are giving you shit. What can you do? I guess move to fucking El Paso and get a job in a Tasty Freeze and buy a ranch outside of town and live quietly and come. I mean, I don't know. It seems to bother them. I would happy to have $20 million. I could find a lot of stuff to do, but it seems to bother them. And I don't like seeing people who seem to be bothered.
Well, I don't even know if she has that kind of money. Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I was
going to say, one place you shouldn't move to is New Mexico. And hanging out at the mini mart because see, I can bring joy to your life.
Yep.
Because you're a WME IMG. Now you got the money. Jon Jones didn't seem to think that his cocaine use was a big deal during an interview with Bleacher Report. Quote, I just like to have a good time, man. I'm not an addict or anything like that. You must be walking around with fucking 100 pounds, my teeth running out, and scabs all over my face. End quote. Jones's affinity for playing Nose Candy Crush concern you in wake of your 2017 financial targets from your 2016 UFC purchase.
You got to know, if you're watching Knuckle Up, I got spies all over New Mexico. I got spies who are running photos of the guy from the mini mart. I got spies who actually secured a package of Street Overlord. Not for me, but just to show a photograph of it. I got guys who are, 10 rows behind them at King of the Cage when he should be at the UFC. You know, I got people who are training at Jackson Wink who are paying attention, and all the word in the street that I'm getting is that dude is not holding it down. The closest I've come to a exculpatory supportive statement has been he's not doing anything different from anything he's ever done. So, you know, the guy got to wherever he is, 21-1 or 23-1, where it is, doing what he's doing now. Why change? I don't know. Baseball players don't change their underwear if they're on a good streak. So any story about transformation should not have been believed. That what you should believe is what came out of the man's, like a woman I used to know said she was completely crazy, but she said, you listen to anybody long enough and they'll tell you all you need to know. And I think he's exactly right. You know, if I'm the corporate overlords at WME, I mean, certainly those people have actors who are way closer to the edge than this guy. But again, all they got to do is get those guys to a 3-week filming schedule. And after that, those guys can fuck off, kill themselves, crash cars, do whatever. You know, we got the thing in the can. We don't give a fuck what happens to the person. Jon Jones actually has to show up on July, whatever it is, 29th. He's got to like be there for real, like be there, you know. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous as WME. I'm not so much nervous about him admitting to cocaine use. I mean, he's already admitting to what he's already been caught for. This is not if he said, so I take some fucking Decadurablin, what's the big deal? Now that's a news event that would kill you, you know. But this is, I mean, I think it's maybe about the transformation of Johnny Boney Joni, and I think in this instance it's about a transformation that gets you in a one-to-one relationship with him. He admitted to being confused earlier on and said, you know, I thought I need to be somebody else. I think I need to have a 1-to-2 relationship where there's this person that we know as Johnny Boney Joni, and then there's a real me. Now I'm collecting these all in one person, and the reality of it is, you know, I took coke. I don't give a shit about taking coke. I'm not a fucking drug addict, and anybody who's taking drugs who's brave enough to speak up will support the contention that you could take a few drugs here and there. You could skip 6 months and take it again without becoming a complete addict. Any adult person who's consumed narcotics knows that. So fuck you. So in actual fact, I like this version of Johnny Boney Joni better, but it doesn't make me feel good about his future prospects, especially if I'm WME.
Well, especially his coke buddy prospects too, because it sounded like he was going to start outing people in the article. He's like, "You'd be surprised at the people who use coke. It's not just me. People bigger than me, and I've seen it, and I've done it with them." I was like, "Oh." Well,
you know, you can't hang out with. Anytime somebody tells me that they're hardcore into any kind of religion, you got to know what they're doing is pre-notifying you of their intent to fuck you over. So, you know, because then they could just run to God and ask for forgiveness. You know, I'm sorry I told all that shit about Eugene that we did together. I'm sorry. Forgive me, God. Yeah, well, you know, you can't trust these guys. Sons of ministers, they're bad news, man. Historically speaking, based on my history, I got to tell you, you know, I've not had a good time or good luck with them.
What do you think, John?
Well, first I got Eugene. You have spies hiding in the juniper bushes and stuff with these marks. This thing is Jon Jones still have any connection to Wayne Harriman? Is he representing him at all anymore or not?
This I don't know. I don't know.
That would be interesting because people don't know that Wayne Harriman is a longtime fixture in MMA, but he also has self-confessed mob ties, twice been charged in major coke running deals, first with the Buffalo Mafia back in '94, second time with the Hells Angels.
I would like it known now publicly that I don't know John Nash very well. I don't live near John Nash. I don't.
He's Nate's friend.
I would like it known that Nate Wilcox is the one who told me all this information. I'm getting it secondhand. I have no other knowledge of this.
He said, "John, make sure you on the show you mention Wayne." Yeah,
he sent me a list of things to bring up, and he said, "Make sure you mention the mob and Hell's Angel connections with drug dealing." And so, but that's a guy that negotiated publicly Jon Jones' last public deal with the UFC. He was in the video recording meeting Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta to sign the deal. If people remember that.
But there's one thing that you're just not gonna. You know, I was at a wedding in Las Vegas, right? And I'm sitting at a table at one of the Wynn casinos, and I'm sitting there with Priscilla Presley, Paul Anka, and a bunch of other people. Stevens, was it Stills, Nash, Stills, and what is that group? CSN. Crosby, Stills, and Nash are on stage singing to this cat, right? This is Steve Wynn's younger brother who's getting married to this woman that was a friend. And the celebrities leave the table because they're going around saying hello to everybody. And I'm just sitting there with some normal people, and normal people say, oh, I don't think the mob is in Vegas anymore. And the Wynn seems like such nice people. And I had to leave the table because I couldn't be sitting at a table with people who were so fucking stupid. What do you think? You think like I invented this thing? You think I'm gonna walk away from it? No, I mean I don't have to kill people to do business anymore. But I mean how many degrees of separation you get from the Fertittas and their fathers? I mean, come on, I created something. What was bad about the way I created is that I used murder as a negotiating tool. Okay, I don't do that anymore. Now I'm just a businessman. So you get, who's that guy? Chuck Zito, right?
Right.
You get, I mean, it could be Hollywood, man. These Hollywood also started by outlaws, right? Moved further west. It used to be Long Island was where they would film these movies. Came under government pressure, started moving across the United States to get away. Yeah, these guys don't go very far. I mean, the only functioning difference is murder. And even then, if you read about Roy Radin and the Cotton Club, the movie The Cotton Club and the Cotton Club Murders, which can be read about, you can just go online and they type it in. There's really not too much of a difference between how that kind of business is done. But I mean, why did the bald one leave Boston?
Right.
I mean, yep. So, you got large amounts of money that attracts. It's like light and moths. It attracts things.
So are you concerned, John, at all if you're WME-IMG?
Well, first of all, I think it's hard to be too concerned considering how good my record collection is based on drug use. So I partly got to think that that there's something to mastery. There's something to genius that drugs give you. Part of it is I think I would be watchful of Jon Jones. I would definitely have eyes on him all the time to think if he's going out of control, if he's getting in the wrong direction. But part of this, I think, is him being honest because he can't use the same excuse that he's a clean-cut, good Christian boy anymore because he's getting busted every time he does that. So to me, it's a little more refreshing that he says, yeah, I did cocaine, no big deal. That's, everybody, as a good Christian boy, I can't say I ever did it. But everybody else can make that claim.
Man, you just said the most unbelievable thing you've said the whole time.
Especially because I haven't been to church since I was 5 years old. Besides that,
you said a good Christian boy, right? You're a man now.
Yeah, you could have put quotes on all those words. Right.
As I wipe my nostrils right this minute. No, but I think I wouldn't be too alarmed right now, except unless Eugene's spies are getting back to you too, saying he's out of control. Then I start getting nervous because he's probably the biggest star in the UFC that's active right now because Conor's not active, Ronda's gone. Maybe Jon Jones isn't the biggest star, but certain fights of him are mega fights. Cormier will do okay. Him versus Gus will do good. So he's an asset. He's a $20 million asset every time he fights.
Yep.
Maybe get some blackmail material on him, so keep him in line. Maybe that's the way to go about it. You have those connections. Get some compromise with him and some prostitutes peeing on a mattress.
One person who definitely needs something to put him in line. And John, I know this is a question we're hankering for, written by Mr. Nathan Wilcox. You're an RCA executive, John. How do you handle R. Kelly's sex cult allegations?
Oh, man.
Well, first of all, I got to say, Nate told me specifically this was one of the ones we're going to do on the show, so I had to do research. Otherwise, then he took it off, and I got all nervous. Like, why take off the one question I knew ahead of time? But first of all, if I'm them, first I listen, he doesn't have a sex cult. It's a sex church. We're not tax exempt. So, and then I guess for RCA, the other question is, how well did David Berg's The Family do? Did they get enough members that you could make money off this? If they get enough members, you can make money off it. Maybe let R. Kelly run wild and build a huge sex cult. Maybe that's the thing to do. But if not, or maybe if you have that much faith in R. Kelly's ability to brainwash people, invite some press and the parents of these seduced young women and put them in the cult, and then put them out there to say there's no cult. So that's besides that, actually, the big thing I would do, I don't know. I mean, a sex cult, this sounds appealing to make a sex cult. I got to admit that. But this guy's track record's horrible. Didn't he marry a couple underage girls?
Yeah, Leah, that was underage.
Was there another girl?
Wrote all of her songs. Age ain't nothing but a number.
Yeah, no, but there was another girl too involved. He supposedly got sued about, right?
Right. Yeah, that's the one he was in the videotape with. He peed.
No, that's a different girl. He urinated on a different underage girl. That's what I'm saying. We're talking a whole track record of. The one good thing I would say, I would just reinforce all these women are over 18.
Yeah, and that's where I used to be friends with these porn stars in LA, and some of these porn stars looked amazingly like, I mean, if you remember, the look of the day was kind of, who was the chick? Pamela Lee, right? So they happened to be out one night, and it was weird because you have these cognates. So this one that looked a lot like Pamela Lee, her name was Olivia. If you care to look, she's still sort of working. But back in the 90s, she was a hot stuff. And her boyfriend at the time looked exactly like Tommy Lee, right? Yeah. So if you didn't know any better, you look up, you go, oh shit, this Tommy. Oh no, that's not them, So they happened to be out one night and get spied by fucking Tommy, right? Like Tommy Lee is out and they're at the whiskey or some fucking place like that. And so Tommy goes up, he kind of knows what's up, sort of in a weird way, I guess. Maybe, I don't know how much insight the guy has. In any case, they chat for a bit, he walks off, and then Tommy's got a handler. So his handler goes up to her and her boyfriend afterwards and says, hey, you want to come hang? We're all gonna roll out to Tommy Land, because that's where Tommy lived. He called his place at the time Tommy Land. We're gonna go to Tommy Land. And they were like, fuck, cool. Clearly her boyfriend was majorly influenced. I mean, he looked like Tommy Lee and he was trying to look like Tommy Lee. So they go to Tommy Land and it's a fucking scene. Of course, Tommy Lee's got a lot of money. It's a big scene. What happened next, of course, is doesn't burnish the story, but I got to finish because you want to know. So at a certain point, the same handler that got them there, they're sitting around doing narcotics. The handler says to the boyfriend, bro, Tommy's a little tired now, so maybe you could roll it out of here. He goes, oh, okay, well, I'll grab Olivia. He's like, nah, I think she's gonna stay a little longer, but we could get you a cab if you need help getting a cab. We'll call one for you. That dude was on the sidewalk and out of Tommy Land, and his girlfriend stayed behind, so you can create these environments. If you've got enough money and a certain amount of celebrity, you might not be happy that your 19 or 20-year-old daughter is living up at fucking R. Kelly's mansion at a constant party, not going to college, clearly taking way too many drugs, and you might want to call it brainwashing, but that's the kind of brainwashing that's infected the 80% of America who gives a shit about this kind of stuff. Kardashians, reality TV, junk food, Us Magazine, People Magazine. It's fucking celebrity, money, and the attractive lure of shiny things. The fuck you gonna stop that? What are you gonna do? Unless you get some people to go to R. Kelly and say, if you don't put my daughter out of here, I'm gonna fucking murder you. In which case, you'll learn the other side of fame and power. That also comes with that money and power. And R. Kelly hires some fucking cats to show up, and they straighten your shit up. So, there's nothing you can really do except leave this fucking country.
Man, they'll show up and they'll send the permission slip to let your daughter be there from now on. It'll be like, giving permission to Ted Nugent to have your daughter.
I'm not sitting here as a hypocrite. I have to say that at one point in my life, as a man over the age of 21, I happened to be dating a woman who was under 18. Didn't know she was under 18 at the time. What do you do? What do you do at that point? Well, I remember going to the parents and talking to the parents to see if they were fucking cool with it. The parents are like, you're the sanest, best thing that's come along in her life in a long time. You have our blessing, which does in fact carry legal weight in court. So if R. Kelly has people up there who is 17 and the parents are not down, then get them the fuck out of there. You know, if he's got people who are over 18 there, there's nothing you can do. You know, raise them in a different country. Get that TV out of your fucking house so that people are not entranced by shiny things.
I think the solution is your next album's a theme album based on having a sex cult. That's the Run Like an Alice Cooper theme album. You know, every song has to do with a different version of the sex cult. Cash in on this mofo. I have no idea what to do about it. I'm not a big R. Kelly fan. I just like sex cults. I think they're, I'm a big David Berg, the Family fan. I thought that was the Daviditis or whatever that was. So was that the story of Daviditis? David Ito. You guys remember that? No. The kid that was in the sex cult and he shot his nanny because he was molested because the sex cult was all about, that he was the son of one of the runners of the sex cult. Am I the only one that knows sex cults here?
I think you're on your own. I think you just.
Research. Your research is really paying off, John.
Yeah,
I think you just made that cult up just to talk about sex cults. You know?
It's an idea I had. It came to me one day.
But the thing about cults, the worst thing about cults, because I've thought about cults for a long time. The worst thing about cults is that you have to hang out with people who might have a high propensity for being in a fucking cult. Yeah. Who wants to hang out with somebody like this? Jesus.
Man. Well, brings us to our teachable moment. Eugene, your Black Lives Matter's DeRay McKesson. Last week, you went on a race-shaming rampage when you saw a monkey wearing a blue vest on the Planet of the Apes poster. Turns out the blue vest predated you by over 40 years. Whoopi Goldberg put you on blast, and you deleted your tweets. What can we learn from your tweet conceit?
That that celebrity has a powerful, distorting, magnifying glass, man. And that dude just needs to shut the fuck up. It's like, there's some people sitting in front of that TV who believe that the people in the TV are talking to them. Yep. You've heard me come on the show many times and complain about all the bikini photos that Misha Tate is sending me. Except I do know that she's actually not just sending them to me. So this dude sitting around going, oh, there, you know what? My kid was reading something to me last night from Instagram. And what do you think? I go, kid, this is social media. It's an outrage generator. It quickens the pulse, gets people involved. You can't fall for the okie doke. Somebody's pissed off because their boss said something to them about their fucking hair. Are you kidding? And they leave this long post at the end of which they offer not a single fucking solution about what they're going to do the next day to deal with this situation. So it's just complaining. She goes, well, certainly it's okay to have a forum where you just complain. Yeah, whatever. There's also a forum where I can be not in your forum and read a book or do something interesting or something compelling. Dude wants to complain about a major motion picture that features fucking subhuman primates who talk. Get the fuck out of here with that.
What about you, John?
I think the teachable moment, the lesson of this is that social media is very fast, and you should maybe learn not to respond so quickly to stuff. He saw it, he got, oh, that's about me, and responded. Any sort of basic research, pause and ask someone. I think they would have said, dude, did you see the 68 version? They're wearing the goddamn same thing. Yep. If anything, you're dressing like one of the gorillas from the 1968 Planet of the Apes. Yep. So I think that's the big teachable moment. The other teachable moment, too, is that and this is not I'm actually a fan of some of the efforts people are doing in social activism, but I think this shows that modern social activism is way too preoccupied with being either partly on social media and also preoccupied with being a celebrity themselves, building up there's too much stuff about brand names. When you look at the old guys that used to lead movie like, Randolph and Rustin and besides Martin Luther King was a brand because he was the head of the movement, but all these guys back then, it was all about building coalitions and working with people and building up the grassroots organization. And today it's all about, well, this is my message and this is me and my identity, and you got to here's what I'm kind of the leader of this movement. I think that's the other teachable moment that maybe get back to the basics.
Probably the only time I will ever quote Talib Kweli. He said, activism and doesn't end with your keyboard, So you got to actually leave the house if you want to be an activist.
Man, no fun, man.
Sounds like work.
Eugene.
Sir.
Who is in your Lost Battalion this week?
Man. You know what? we had something happen that was an interesting thing. I was busy in New York playing shows, so I didn't get a chance to watch the fights as they were happening. So I was relying on tweets, and people were like, "Ah, man, Gunny's in the Lost Battalion," and they didn't say that because he lost. They said that because he blamed his loss on the eye poke, and then somebody zaprooted it, and they show how many like 36 fucking thousand eye pokes before he was knocked out by Ponzinibbio. And people said, look, there's actually, his Icelandic taciturness actually didn't serve him well here because there were enough eye pokes to make that a credible claim. So what do you have? Sometimes you have the Lost Battalion Count of Monte Cristo, a guy who's in the Lost Battalion who is not supposed to be in the Lost Battalion, right? He's fully aware of where he is. He just did like I did a BJJ finishers thing, which means there's a 15-minute round, and you have to win to continue. If nobody wins, you're both out. So you have to submit somebody. So I fight a 24-year-old guy for 13 fucking minutes, right? I take him down. And the guy starts to do some fucking hack-ass attempt at a guillotine. He can't really do it, but then he pulls up a neck crank. And I tap, and I look at the ref, who happens to be Leopoldo Serrao, my fucking coach. And I was like, I'm pointing to the neck. I'm like, what? Are we letting neck cranks happen now? And he just waves me off. And then later I said, how could you let that happen to me? He goes, look, you're a fucking 52-year-old man. You fought a 24-year-old guy for 13 minutes and gave him hell. You were done. I felt like I was in the backseat of a car and fucking, and on the waterfront. It was you all the time, Charlie. It was you. You should have looked out for me for just a little bit. Yeah. So there you go. I think that Gunny is now like the Count of Monte Cristo in a place he doesn't belong. And that place is the fucking Lost Battalion. And no amount of actual self-awareness is going to get him out. It's not people saying like, oh, he was in the Lost Battalion and now he's in the fucking Phantom Toll Booth. Yeah, if only, because part of being in the Lost Battalion has to do with a decreasing confidence on the part of the people who could get you out of the Lost Battalion. You think he's going to headline a fight anytime soon? You think he's... Where does he go from here? Let's ask Diana Ross. Maybe she can tell us where the road turns. And of course, I hate now that Nate's not here. Kid Nate is not here. I can say it, and I can say it with pride. Chris Weidman, undisputed fucking world Lost Battalion Generalissimo Francisco Franco, Chris Weidman, who says more amazing shit every day than I say all year about how I'm still the best. I am one of the best fighters in the world. It just gets crazier and crazier. At this point now, people are just tweet it to me with no commentary. It's just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe how ardently he wants to stay. And then somebody sent me something where he was actually butthurt that told him about the odds. So yeah, Kelvin is actually he's a favorite in this. And Chris was like, just in for a penny, in for a giant fucking pound. He was like, how is that possible? Man. So those are my two. Man.
Yeah. Do I get my segment now, or are we skipping?
Go ahead,
heel? No, he's going to do the heel turn, right?
I don't do the heel turn. I got my own.
Oh, you got your own. Oh,
go ahead. There you go.
All right. Do it. It's a debut.
I call it the Legion of Doom, and what it is who is so horrible in MMA that they're actually a supervillain now. The only person that deserves it this week that's so obvious to make it in is Ramzan Kadyrov, the head of the Republic of the Chechen District Republic in Russia.
This is you with the fucking pronunciation that fucked me up with Bangbosi.
Hey,
you mean Kadyrov?
Kadyrov, whatever. Kadyrov. Yeah. I don't speak goddamn Russian.
Chechnya. That guy Cuddy Sark. Now Cuddy Sark is the head of Chechnya. What?
Well, at least I didn't try John? At least I didn't try to pronounce Vasily Blokin or whatever his name is.
Yeah. So why is Kadyrov pissing you off though?
Well, I think he's literally a supervillain. I mean, here's a guy. It used to be that a person that ran a small mountain state country as a dictatorship with absolute power was fucking Dr. Doom. This guy's literal. Right. This is a real Dr. Doom. He not only he runs a dictatorship, he's basically handed over by Russia. They're executing gay people. I mean, they're pulling out Nazi shit. He has no care that gay people are being executed in his country. He has a massive MMA organization that trains his troops. His actual troops fight in his MMA organization to get skilled in martial arts. And now he challenged the UFC to a death match between his fighters and the UFC. I mean, this is straight out comic book shit. He deserves a spot on my Legion of Doom. He's going to sit between Gorilla Grodd and Sinestro. He's got a spot there. Make room, Captain Cold. You're out of the way. We got.
Well, and the actual fact is that Kadyrov has done a couple of interesting things. He's got a freestanding. You yourself, John, could go on Instagram. He's got an Instagram account, and you could go on Instagram and say, "I'm an American journalist. I'd like to tour Chechnya." And he would make you a toast. He would take you out to dinner. You would get a session, a meeting with him. He would roll out the red carpet. He goes, any journalist in the world who ever wants to come here, it's on me. Come here. You can see that Chechnya is away easy, because this is not, there's some video online of him playing soccer with his dudes. And you're in a dangerous place when these guys are just whiffing in a really clearly obvious way, whiffing it. Good job security. I got it. What blows me away is the fact that he doesn't seem to get it. And he has one of my favorite quotes. He runs around with a golden gun. So there's your arch villain thing. He's got a golden gun. And he said, frankly, I don't even know the beginning of the quote or the end of the quote, but the part that I like the best, they asked him about some of the extrajudicial killings that he's been involved with. He goes, frankly, I need to tell you that I'm not going to, as long as I'm alive, the killing will never stop. And then, when they widen the quote, it turns out that he was talking about his enemies. But, I have enemies too, and I can't kill them. so he's it's a real super interesting case, man. Yeah, but
people get a chance, read Kareem Zidane stuff that he's written on him, and I guess HBO just did something tonight. We're probably missing it right now about him, but he's and it's scary too how many UFC major MMA fighters visit him and give him the rub of hanging out with the top fighters.
Not just them, man. Do you remember that chick? Who was the actress?
Mayweather.
No, the actress. Oh. The one who was $1 Million Baby who went over and then had
the teeth.
Yeah, the teeth. Yeah, that one. Yeah. What's her name? Come on.
Boys Don't Cry.
Have something with an H.
She was in the next Karate Kid.
Oh my God.
What's her name?
We got nobody.
I show her the teeth and the hair.
How did?
No, not a Holly. Oh, what the fuck's her name? Anyway, $1 Million Baby.
Oh, I know who it is. No, Hillary Swank.
Yeah. Whoa. So Hillary Swank goes over there and then had to come back, and they said, "What are you doing with this dictator?" And
that's right.
So. And she had to fire her whole staff. So he's been running a charm offensive, and people have been taken in.
John, you got to go over there and check this out, man.
I think
I was gonna go.
Me and you, Eugene. Let's
go.
No,
I was actually gonna go, but then I remembered that I have kids and I like my life. And the reality of it is, you can't go over there. Realistic. I mean, at some point, maybe Kadyrov says, "Hey, you do martial arts. We should roll together." And a guy like me would say, okay. And then I'm not letting that guy win. I'm not letting him win. I can't do that. So that's not a place for me.
Yeah, I've seen The Serpent and the Rainbow, so I don't know if it's a place for me.
But he and I are Instagram friends. As I am also friends with General Butt Naked, who is now a Christian minister who no longer believes that if he is naked and running towards machine gun nest, the bullets won't touch him. So
work for him, man.
It did. He's still alive.
Yeah, it was. What was the other Cutter? Mother Cutter, was that the other one out there? The other one of the commanders, all the different bizarre commanders from Liberia.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Legion of Doom, man.
Yeah.
That was a good one, John.
I had to come up with something.
That was cool. That was really cool.
We've run out of members already, so we have.
A recruitment drive.
MMA that evil.
Well, thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter, Eugene S. Robinson, Lex Diod at Hey Not the Face. Facebook at MMA Punch Holes. Please give us a thumbs up, Eugene.
Ba 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 bang, ba 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 bang, and there you go.
Leave comments on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com, YouTube, MMA Nation, iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow. Buy Oxbow's Thin Black Duke wherever fine music is sold. You know,
Claimed
so funny
as one of the best records of the year still.
Well, you know, I was going to say earlier when you're talking about like, oh, poor Ronda Rousey because she's rich. And, you know, I think the difference is the fact that she's rich, but she doesn't have critical acclaim.
Yeah, right? You know what? I'm gonna say something that I'm gonna say what Bobby Southworth said right before he dropped out of MMA and moved to Texas. He goes, "You know what fame is? Fame is when everybody knows your name, but you got nothing in the bank."
Yep. The harsh lesson people outside of industries don't know.
Success and fame is when everybody knows your name and you have money in the bank.
That's right.
It's like the difference between wealthy and rich.
Yeah, I got the critical acclaim, and I got 2 nickels, but
man, always ending on a positive note. For past episodes of the show and other positive notes, please check out our If I Didn't playlist on MMANation.com. We'll be back next week with another installment. If I Didn't, we don't know what we're going to be talking about yet because the PR mistakes have yet to be made.
Oh shit, I gotta stop the show. Hey, with Nate gone.